Chapter 1. The worst moment. You'll never find a better sparring partner than adversity. Golda Meir. Denver, Colorado, April 2011. The pain is unbearable. This is bad, really bad. I keep replaying the sequence of events in my head. I call for the ball, I receive it, I control it, I turn with it, I begin to dribble it up the pitch, and then it happens. Bang! I feel the tackle coming. From this moment on, my entire career will hang in the balance. My leg goes numb as I fall and land on my back. I look up at my leg. It's pointing in 2 different directions. That can't be good. Legs aren't supposed to do that. There are a few thousand people in the stadium, but all I hear is silence. To followers of Major League Soccer, the story is well known. In the 3rd minute of the game against the Colorado Rapids, I received the ball, and as I turned to dribble it up the pitch, a really strong tackle to my right leg stopped me in my tracks. My leg was broken, both my tibia and my fibula. I would find out the next day after surgery that I had also developed something called compartment syndrome, which basically meant that I had suffered severe nerve damage that would require another surgery. Without this second surgery, I risked losing the nerve function in my right foot, for good. For me, someone who had played football for a living, losing feeling in my foot was the worst possible thing that could happen. In the days and weeks that followed, doctors told me I would definitely walk again, and even that I would regain some level of function in my right leg, but they always stopped short of reassuring me that I would play again. They couldn't assure me of that because they weren't sure how well I would heal, and they also weren't sure how much irreversible damage had been done to the nerves that control the sensation in my right foot. The combination of a broken leg and compartment syndrome was one of the worst injuries ever seen in the sport of football. In the months that followed the injury, well-meaning fans and supporters asked what felt like thousands of times when I expected to be back. I often told them that I'd be back soon, and I really believed that. However, if I may be transparent, my confidence and determination to get back on the field sometimes gave way to questions of what if. What if I never play again? What would I do with my life? What if my leg never fully recovers? Will I ever be the player I could have been? What if I have played my last professional game? These were extremely uncomfortable questions that no athlete should ever have to deal with, and even less so if that athlete is only 23 years old and playing the best football of his career. My 500-day journey back to the pitch was the hardest path I've ever had to walk. I learned to accept that as hard as I worked in my physical therapy sessions, I may never make a full recovery and become the player that I could have been. I had to accept that I'd probably never really know how much of my career I truly lost. These were tough pills to swallow, and they still are. On the one hand, mine is a story of loss, suffering, and hardship. But on the other, it's one of hope, perseverance, and rising above. And through it all, I would say that the biggest thing I learned is that each of us can learn something from other people's journeys, even people we seemingly have nothing in common with. After my injury, I received thousands of letters, mainly from people in the United States and England. At first, all of the letters were from football fans, usually notes of encouragement. When I returned to the pitch and started playing consistently, the letters didn't stop, but their tone changed. I no longer received letters just from football fans. I had people from all walks of life writing to me, sharing things like, "Thank you for being an inspiration. I just lost my job, but seeing how positive you have been through your hardship has helped me to remain positive in mine." I also had an injury that left me unable to work, and I just want to tell you that your story inspires me. Hello, Steve. I'm a teacher, and I use your story in a class lesson today. Steve, this is Pastor so-and-so. I used your story in my sermon on forgiveness and perseverance today. In reading these letters, I realized my story wasn't limited to sports, and definitely not just to football. It was a story that others could relate to, be encouraged by, and learn from because it was a human story. I realized that my story could reach people from all walks of life. This book is my story. And although it's not really an autobiography, it contains many factual stories from my life and my career, as well as a collection of thoughts on the experiences I went through and the lessons I learned from one of the most defining moments of my life. This book began as a letter to myself more than anything. I wrote a lot in the days and months following the injury because I wanted to have an outlet for my frustrations and despair. But I also thought it would be helpful to record all of the small victories I gathered along the way to my ultimate goal of getting back out onto a football pitch. To this day, people continue to tell me about their own struggles and how my story has given them the inspiration and strength to persevere. It was those conversations that led me to bring structure to all of the different writings and journal entries I had done during those 500 days, and to turn them into a story about hope and rising above adverse circumstances. Sure, I had darker days, but they never defeated me. I had a lot of doubts, but they never became a reality. When you're at the end of your rope, you have to believe that you'll get through whatever it is you're facing. It's always possible. That's the message I hope my story conveys. One of my mentors, the best-selling author and inspirational speaker, Dr. Miles Monroe, told me that we should never give up during difficult times because there is always life after the storm. Well, I've been through the storm, and this book is proof that there is indeed life after. It is, however, the lessons learned during the storm that define my journey. The things I faced that I never thought I would have to face as a professional athlete, those are the things that made my journey what it was. I only had one goal after I suffered my injury, and that goal was to play football again. Even one more game would have been enough, but I was able to do that and more. This is my story. I hope it will inspire you as you face your own challenges.